Mike and Chris, our last chance at predictions and getting it right, making changes. Let's just skip right over this Best Picture race. We all have Argo down there. I want to move on to the next race because it was very interesting. I was checking your predictions today, and I noticed that Chris went into his account and updated his predictions yesterday. You know where I'm going with this, Chris. And you left Haneke there for Best Director. Now, is this just, are you willing it to happen? Is it stubbornness or is it official insanity?
Probably both. But I will say the reason I left it was because it's so insane that if it actually happens, I don't want to be like, oh, I changed my picks. I had Haneke the whole time. And now, look at that. I went to, Ang Lee or David O. Russell. I believe I moved Russell up to second. So if I was going to make a change, I think I would have changed to David O. Russell. But I'm going to stick with Haneke just because, at this point, why not? And at least it's something to root for. I don't know.
Now, Mike, you have David O. Russell in your second position. I don't see that happening. Explain to me, what am I missing?
Okay, I have to admit, I'm not confident about this. This category really baffles me and bothers me. I'm at the point where I could make a case for or against pretty much anybody, I think. I had Spielberg up until really the other day. And I just haven't heard a single person say a word that would make you think that Spielberg is going to win. I have heard numerous people say they think Ang Lee is going to win. David O. Russell, I don't want to discount the Harvey factor. I think that movie has had a late push. A lot of people like it. I think what Steve Pond said, which is that he's going to get best screenplay for his pains, is arguably the case. And I think maybe people want to give Ang Lee something for his trouble too, because Life of Pi, let's not forget, has made whatever it is, $500 million at this point, and is obviously a technical marvel. But the movie doesn't really work. At some narrative level, emotional level. So I kind of was, I don't know what to think. I don't think it's going to be Haneke, I can tell you that, but it would be kind of awesome if it were.
The Harvey factor with Silver Linings Playbook, yeah, I don't know what to do with this category either because there is no history of Spielberg or Ang Lee winning anything this award season, of course, with Ben Affleck out of this race. So I'm just... again, with no confidence in my prediction, I'm just putting Spielberg. There's the default choice because I think that what happened the last time he was up for this race. Not Munich. Was he up for Munich? Munich was up for Best Picture, but he got the consolation prize for Saving Private Ryan. So anyway, basically, the three of us are saying we don't know what's going to happen here, so we're just throwing darts. All right,
really,
as long as we admit it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the one category where it's 2-1. Two of you against me, and I'm ready to take you on for supporting actor, all right? You guys both have De Niro. Who wants to go and explain this to me, why you've got De Niro there?
I'll explain. I mean, who do you have, Tom?
Christoph Waltz.
Okay, I'll explain. I think De Niro, I would say either of them. Again, the reason I don't have Tommy Lee Jones is because Lincoln, no one really is talking. I mean, just kind of feels like it's slowed down too much to maybe give Tommy Lee Jones a win. I have De Niro because... of the Harvey factor, I think, like we've been saying, he hasn't won in 32 years, and that's, a big deal, and maybe this will be the last, based on the kind of movies that Robert De Niro picks lately, this could be the last time that he has a chance to win an Oscar. I mean, he's certainly not going to win one for the boxing movie he's doing with, like, Sylvester Stallone this year. So, I think he's good enough in Silver Linings Playbook. They just awarded Christoph Waltz, who does kind of the same thing in Django Unchained, even though I love that thing, and it's really great. He does the same thing he just did for, Inglourious Bastards 3 years ago. And so I think that gives De Niro the edge, frankly, over the two of them. But, I think Mike and I may be out on a little limb here because any kind of prediction models or anything I've seen has De Niro running a distant third. But I really think in the end he's going to end up winning. Also, he's De Niro. I think that, none of these guys are really beloved, I would say. Even, Tommy Lee Jones certainly seems a little prickly. Maybe he's not as beloved as De Niro. Christoph Waltz seems really friendly and nice, but, do the people, especially the actors branch, are they really, like, friendly with him? I don't know, and I think that kind of plays into this, too, especially since, in the end, it's just a giant popularity contest. So, I don't know. I think De Niro is the choice. Convince me otherwise, Tom.
Mike, jump in here, because this is where I need some clarity, right? De Niro has won Goose Egg, Nothing this year.
I know.
Not even Northeast or Southeast Ohio film critics. It is so rare in Oscar history that you win a major award without any precursor award. I mean, James Coburn did it. There are a few rare examples. So where is this De Niro thing coming from?
Well, Chris and I may have sold ourselves on the marketing campaign that we wanted the Weinstein Company to do, and that they finally did using our own colleague's quote at the top of every ad, which is basically the Meryl Streep one from last year. He's an American treasure. He's overdue. And I think that's there's something compelling about that. I think I can imagine people looking at the ballot and going, man, look at De Niro. When was the last time he got nominated? He was so good in that movie. I don't know why he's so much better in that movie than anything else he's done in 15 years, but it's true. Christoph Waltz, the only reason he's not my choice is the fact that he just won this, 3 years ago. He absolutely steals Django Unchained. It's my favorite movie of the year. I think he's incredible in it, but I do think that there's a certain kind of, you've got 5 white guys with gray hair. One of them, just went up and accepted this 3 years ago. And De Niro is the one who is going to go down in history as the greatest actor one of the great actors of his generation. So I don't know. I guess maybe I'm kind of hoping that it would happen. But I don't know. I'm reserving my right to change my picks, by the way, up until literally the red carpet is winding down.
Let me give you the clarity here, because you both obviously drunk the Weinstein Kool-Aid here, and you need a sobering intervention, and let me give it to you, all right? Christoph Waltz has not lost a single race he's been in.
Yeah. By the way, he's Weinstein too. He's Weinstein too.
I know, that's true, I know. But they're pushing, and when I say this to the Weinstein people, they get really mad because they're pushing the other pony. But,
I know. That's a Harvey from the heart thing too, which is very
it is. Yeah. It is. De Niro is based in New York. Harvey's in New York. There's all this other kind of stuff going on. It's a whole silver linings thing. But, Waltz was nominated for the Globe, and he won. He wasn't nominated at SAG, so forget that. He was nominated at BAFTA. He won. 10 of the last 12 winners of the supporting actor race at the Globes won the Oscar. 5 of the last 6 at BAFTA. You start running the numbers here, and you see there is this overwhelming case for Christoph Waltz and 0 real case for De Niro, and then the only thing you guys can tell me is, Waltz won a couple years ago. Well, that's the history of these supporting races. Diane Wiest and Michael Caine and Jason Robards, over and over, they don't mind giving you a couple because it's just, after all, supporting, right?
Okay, all right.
I will say another thing, Tom. I'm not going to change my pick, but if I was going to, another thing I would say about the potential for Christoph Waltz to win is that, and this is just from everything I'm reading and stuff, it seems like there is a big push for Django Unchained, that a lot of people are realizing that movie is incredibly good and they really love it. And that's why I think Tarantino could end up winning Best Original Screenplay when maybe people thought Haneke would for Amour or Mark Bowl would. So I think there's definitely a wave of Django support, and that would go in that narrative where Christoph Waltz could end up winning. But I'm still going with De Niro, even though that's probably wrong.
I'll probably change just because I have. Just because I want to be different from Chris, partly, and beat Chris. That's my #1 goal, by the way, this year. When the tallies are counted, beat Chris.
Well, he's dangling off so many limbs. I don't think it's.
He gave me Haneke, so I got that going for me.
Exactly, that's a gimme right there. And I don't have supreme confidence in Waltz, because what I found interesting, a week ago, the LA Times published the ballots of 3 voters, and 2 of them did have De Niro on there. And the other one had Tommy Lee Jones, I believe. And so I thought, okay, all right. But the other day I was talking with a voter, and he was saying, oh, no, Tom, you got this all wrong. He's giving me the De Niro argument, right? And I said, yeah, but I just don't see the evidence for it. He goes, wait a minute. I voted for Waltz. What am I saying? Oh, my God, he's going to win. So I don't know. I think there's. I want to own this.
I saw Django Unchained with 2. I happened to run into 2 family members of mine who are SAG members. They're not Academy members, but they're SAG members, and they were absolutely blown away by Christoph Waltz. And it didn't matter that he had just made Inglourious Basterds a couple years ago. So I do think, from an actor's perspective, which is important in this, obviously in this category, and for any Oscar race. Christoph Waltz definitely made a serious impact. You walk out of that movie going, holy crap, I can't believe how good Christoph Waltz is. By the way, I think Chris and I, there might be a little bit of a prejudice against him for the category theft thing, though. I mean, the fact that he, it's very close to a leading role, I think.
Absolutely.
It's funny, too, because remember, he was originally, we all thought supporting, and then there was like maybe a week where it was like, oh, yeah, they're going to run him as best actor to get away from Leo, because remember, that was when everyone thought maybe Leo would get nominated. And in the end,
Weinstein thought he was going to win. They were like, oh, trust me, Leo's going to win Best Supporting.
So then they ended up screwing De Niro, perhaps, by putting Waltz back in supporting when the DiCaprio train didn't leave the station. So it's pretty funny, but I mean, I guess, they'll end up winning something, so it's fine. One of those three, 2 out of 3 chance they're going to win, because I don't see Alan Arkin or Philip Seymour Hoffman having any kind of shot.
Now, both of you guys, like me, are betting on Jennifer Lawrence, but we've seen across the blogosphere this stampede for Emmanuelle Riva by desperate Oscarologists who want to be the bragging rights to get a long shot. I just don't see this long shot happening. I know that she's got gathering buzz, and if there were maybe 2 more weeks in the race, I think it may have caught up with her after BAFTA. But do either one of you guys just jump in? Whoever thinks this is real, this could really happen.
No.
Chris, you go first, because Chris is very eloquent on this topic.
I just don't. I mean, just because Emmanuelle Riva won, I know that Meryl Streep won last year at BAFTA, and that kind of pushed her forward at the Oscars. But, that was like a real race between her and Viola Davis. Emmanuelle Riva, I don't think is even, it was very nice that she got nominated. Even that was a surprise, despite the fact that, some people maybe were expecting it. I still thought that was like kind of a little surprise. And then, Jennifer Lawrence is Jennifer Lawrence. Everyone loves her. She's charmed everyone. She's won a ton of these awards. They want to, and, like Tom, you have said, they want to reward the young actress, and we've seen that time and time and time and time again. And, Emmanuelle Riva is a very nice story, and she's 86 years old on Sunday, but she's not Jennifer Lawrence. And I think the idea that they want, the Oscars want to promote, this is a vibrant industry of, young things with Seth MacFarlane as host, and I think voters in the end are going to be like, I'd rather see Jennifer Lawrence up there than Emmanuelle Riva speaking French.
Well, I think even beyond that, like, they don't really know who she is. They've never met her. She can't speak English. They haven't shook her hand and had her say to their faces, thank you for seeing my movie, which are all the things that help you actually get, one of those, each one of those 6,000 votes. And I don't even know how many of them have actually gone and watched the movie, because it's a super depressing movie. And if you've got a stack of DVDs sitting on your Blu-ray, I'm not sure how many people in the end finally do go and say, all right, I'm going to watch the 2-hour foreign film about the old couple where one of them dies, just proving that there really are no happy endings in life, because that's the best you can hope for, and then it ends in this horrific death. And so I just think it's like bloggers with their thumbs up their, what's kind of looking for something to say. And I think, honestly, I still think Jessica Chastain is a bigger threat to Jennifer Lawrence. From what I've heard, people are voting for Jessica Chastain. I think that message that she delivered at the Golden Globe, saying, I'm not some kid who came out of nowhere, I have worked really hard for this, did resonate with a certain number of people in the Academy. So I still think Jennifer Lawrence is going to win, but I actually think that Jessica Chastain is still the bigger threat.
I absolutely agree with that, Mike. I think she's an upset that could happen here, and I'm not discounting the possibility of her taking it. But when I see people like Pete Hammond, Steve Pond, Ann Thompson, I mean, some major Oscar pundits doing this Emmanuelle Riva thing, I think they've all gone out to the parking lot after a screening one night and talked themselves into this thing.
Yeah.
And then really,
like me and Chris with De Niro.
Yeah, and I Chris with De Niro, right? But I'm probably gonna have to eat some humble pie after that. I mean, I could see De Niro happening, but this Emmanuelle Riva thing, give me a break.
Another thing too is there's a bunch of other if they want to honor a Moore, I mean, forgetting my crazy idea that he's going to win Best Director, I mean, it's obviously going to win Best Foreign Film, so Moore is going to have and it could win Best Original Screenplay, so there's a lot of opportunity to honor a Moore. I think they would rather honor Jennifer Lawrence in that category than give yet another award to a Moore. I mean, are we to believe that people are handing in Oscar ballots with Emmanuelle Riva, a Best Original Screenplay and 3 Oscars for more, I kind of don't see that. I think that it'd be much more spread out than that. But we'll see. Maybe all those people are crazy and they're right. Well, then we'll all be sitting here like, I can't believe Emmanuelle Riva won Best Actress.
Yeah. I mean, is she even going to be there? Is she going to the Oscars?
They are, yeah. Sony Pictures Classics have announced they're taking a wheelbarrow to her house and shoveling her into a plane. She didn't show up at BAFTA, remember, because they couldn't. She did show up earlier this season at the New York Film Critics, I believe.
I was there. I saw her at that.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But she's having trouble. They say crossing a room even with a walker. So,
oh boy!
Can you imagine if she does win? The Oscar show will run 45 minutes overtime because it took 44 minutes to get Emmanuelle Riva to the stage. Oh, that's cruel. Shame on me.
That's wrong, but I like it.
All right, final thoughts. Seth MacFarlane, brilliant choice. You're not sure. Where do you stand? Let's start with you, Mike.
I think he's going to be good because I think he works really, really, really hard, and he's thought a lot about this history. I think he's very shrewd. He's a very shrewd guy in addition to being a funny guy. And he likes to kind of mess with people, and he likes to start trouble, but he also has managed to do those things within the context of really, really major mainstream success. So I read an interview with him where he said that. I think we had it on our site where he said that he was studying Bob Hope and Johnny Carson and Billy Crystal, and I like that. And I like that it's not Billy Crystal kind of trying to come out and do what he did before. It's a younger. I keep saying this, but he really is. I don't think of him as young. I mean, he's 39. He's young by Oscar standards, I guess. But he is sort of like a funny idea of a young person. Have you ever seen him do his singing thing? It's very Rat Packy and bizarre. But I think he'll be funny. He was funny at the nominations announcement, and I think he's going to find a way to thread that line. It's not going to be like somebody like Chris Rock coming out and immediately alienating everybody. I think he's going to be pretty smart about that.
Chris?
I would say, I don't think he's actually just from, I had been worried about him, believe me, because I don't think he's as funny maybe as Mike does, but, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a good Oscar host or not. But one thing I think is more disconcerting as someone who's going to watch the show is that the producers seem to be very into the idea of that music and Oscars are together, and, today there was the interview that Pete Hammond did with the 2 producers, and they were like, oh, we're going to blow out this musical presentation, and it's going to be, we're going to honor the musicals of the last 10 years, and it's, Chicago and Dreamgirls, and it's like, who cares? Does anybody watching the Oscars really care about the 10th anniversary of Chicago? I mean, I guess they think that we do, but I barely consider, Chicago is a weak winner. That's not remembered that fondly. I don't think, and Dreamgirls didn't even win. It was Jennifer Hudson won. That's great, and even Les Mis. I don't know. I think that's going to be a very long telecast. And if MacFarlane comes out and he's kind of like, just a dud in the beginning, that's going to set a bad tone. And then we're going to have all these musical montages. Even the James Bond one, they're turning into a musical montage with Shirley Bassey. So I'm more concerned about that than MacFarlane. But hopefully he'll be really funny, and then the rest of the show could be boring in 5 hours.
But we have to explain there is an agenda behind the whole Chicago thing at the Oscars. You have to remember that Craig Zadan and Neil Marone, who produced, created, launched, put together Chicago, did not win an Oscar when it won Best Picture. That went because of a glitch in the Producers Guild rulings, or the Academy's rulings, that went to Marty Richards. So I've spoken with Craig about this. It just gnaws at them. That was their movie in every single way. So what this is this their moment of revenge? Now maybe it's a little self-indulgent, or a lot self-indulgent, but it's where it's coming from. So they are going to now say, all right, we're in charge of this Oscar stage. Remember Chicago? That was ours, baby. That was ours. So now they have to give it some context. So they say, we'll get Les Mis in there. Oh, we'll throw Dreamgirls in there too. Yeah, 10th anniversary of the musicals.
Right.
So we're just going to have to all forgive that. I like musicals, so it's okay. But that's why it's there, quite frankly. I think on the Seth MacFarlane business, I think it's genius. I think that what could be better than handing the Oscars over to Stewie? He is Seth MacFarlane is Donny Osmond, with the soul of Satan. And he looks like Donny Osmond, really. And
he does look like Donny Osmond.
When Family Guy is good, and it's not always brilliant, but when it is, it's utterly brilliant. And of course, it's packed with musical numbers and appreciation for the performance art. A little, retro and old, like you say, Mike, kind of Rat Packy days, but still, it's there. So, these guys are supreme entertainers and great comedians. So, I'm very optimistic.
And I don't hate the musical thing. I think the Oscars has to be looking at the Grammys, which is just a much more fun telecast and younger. I doubt that anything we'll see at the Oscars in the musical section will be remotely appealing to young people who aren't like in the theater club. But I still think that if it's just people handing out awards and congratulating each other, the thing that I really, really hope above all is that there's never anything remotely like those horrible things a few years ago. It was the Hugh Jackman Oscar when they would stand up and tell the nominees how great they are, and like anything like that literally tricks my gag reflex. I'm hoping for a complete lack of those things. More music, less repulsive ego petting.
Yes, I agree. I think that we're going to at least get that. All right, thanks, guys. I hope you both beat me with predictions. At least I'm saying that on the Hangout. Privately, I'm going to cream you both.
Okay, good.
And thanks for doing this. This has been fun.
Tom, thanks for having us all throughout the season. You've been a great guide for us through this terrain. Thank you.
Well, we'll see if I have been misguiding you or not very soon. Don't change that De Niro prediction, Mike. Please. I'd feel so guilty if I'm wrong.
All right, I'll leave it. I'll just leave it.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye.